Before we get into a Broncos trade mailbag, I figured this would be an appropriate question to ask right off the top. What's your favorite Broncos trade of all time? Was it the trade that got Russell Wilson, the most recent one? Or maybe the trade that landed John Elway or Champ Bailey? One of those three, or a sleeper, deeper one, that's fine. Just let me know down below in the comment section. Put your votes in while this intro video rolls. What's going on, Broncos country? Hope you're all enjoying your Memorial Day weekend. Coming up on today's show, we're going to do a Broncos trade mailbag. These are all trade ideas that you, the people, came up with. And as a group, we'll talk about them and kind of go through them one by one. I started with what I thought was the most realistic and best trades, and then we'll go down the line. So, first one comes in from Aaron Gonzalez, who suggested the Broncos receive Quinnen Williams, the defensive tackle, from the New York Jets for a future third and Mike Purcell. Right off the bat, I like this idea. I mean, Williams, who has been a bit up and down for the Jets, but then again, honestly, when you play for the Jets, do you really ever feel like you have that high of a stock? Like, no one's looking at Jets players and thinking, that guy's good. There are actually some decent players on the Jets that have just been clouded because they've been a bottom feeder of an organization since Joe Namath, really, honestly. I mean, their best years were with Mark Sanchez, the guy that had a butt fumble. All right, listen. Aside from DJ Jones on this defensive line, we can all agree it's a bit on the lighter side. It doesn't need drastic improvement, right? I like the pick EU out of Iowa State. I have faith in Draymond Jones. Maybe Ajim will come to play, but it could have some improvement done to it. So, as for what Denver has to offer, we have to incorporate what picks the Broncos have in 2023. If we're going to be sending away a third-round pick, which, by the way, as of this moment, the Broncos only have 5 draft picks. Now, that can change with some comp picks and whatnot. That will get figured in later on, but we might as well proceed with the belief that George Paton has a limited arsenal because he gave up a first and a second to land Russell Wilson. So, if you're trading at all, what position would you trade for? To answer, I guess, Gonzalez's question, I like that trade, but not for a third. So I would hold off on that one. All right, next trade idea comes from Grant. Grant actually had a very similar trade idea to another viewer, so we can kind of combine these. But it's Deion Jones coming over for the Falcons, from the Falcons for a conditional third. Very similar-ish to what Isaiah Garcia suggested, which is the Broncos also get Deion Jones, but for Dalton Risner and a 2023 fifth-round pick. So both teams, both trades incorporating Deion Jones for some combination of a player and a pick. Now, Deion Jones is not participating in the Falcons offseason workouts after getting shoulder surgery earlier this offseason, according to the head coach down in ATL. Now, the reports are indicating that the Falcons are likely to trade or cut Jones, who's got a $20 million cap hit for this upcoming season. If a trade's going to happen for Deion Jones, it'll be post-June 1. That's an important date in the NFL calendar where a lot of trades are made, and maybe Arthur Smith decides you're not a part of our long-term plans. That was the previous regime. Post 6-1, here's what the numbers look like for Deion Jones. He's got a dead cap hit of $9.3 million for the Falcons, who, by the way, have a lot of dead money. Julio Jones, Matt Ryan, yeah, they're still on the books, believe it or not. 2023, 5.3, so we come down to earth a little bit more. Now, they could save about $10.5 million for this. And it sounds like one way or another, Deion Jones is moving on from ATL. He's had an awesome couple of seasons so far since being drafted in the second round out of LSU half a decade ago. But the last few seasons, I mean, not even a but. The last few seasons, he's been good, all right? He's been a part of what's been a bad defense, but he's been the only bright spot of it, aside from A.J. Terrell, the last few seasons. Now, I would not do this trade because it's just $10 million for a linebacker in 2022. Listen, the linebacker position is not what it was a couple years ago, a couple decades ago. This day and age, people are putting way more DBs on the field. You're seeing a lot more 4-3 looks, 3-4 looks. and a lot more athleticism. Now, there is a tier of top linebackers, okay? Darius Leonard, Roquan Smith, and maybe even Deion Jones, okay, fits that tier. But if you don't have one of those guys, I'd rather just go cheap with like a Josie Jewell or an A.J. Johnson. Now, I can't promise you this, though. If the Broncos make a trade for Quinnen Williams or Deion Jones, we're going to be getting a video out to you guys as soon as possible. So make sure you have those notifications turned on. That way, when you get the noti that the Broncos made a huge move, you can get an instant reaction and details to it. This next trade comes in from a longtime viewer of the channel, All Out Broncos, who suggested a pretty interesting one. Kenny Moore, the corner from the Colts, for a 2023 fifth-round pick. So let's dive in a little bit on Kenny Moore, because this is a name that you probably don't know / not a household name. What is it? Ever since Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis moved on from the Colts, that team has actually had some good players on defense. You just don't think of them. But he was a Pro Bowler last season. Now he's currently holding out, as of right now when I film this, at OTAs, looking for a new contract. He's got a base salary of $6.5 million for 2022, so that's most likely what you would be taking on for a player that had 4 interceptions last season. 13 pass breakups en route to being nominated to his first Pro Bowl out of Valdosta State. So you love to see a player work his way up from kind of the bottom of the college football ranks to being a Pro Bowler in the NFL. We know this for sure. George Paton, he loves his DBs, right? That is his version of an all-you-can-eat buffet. He can never have enough defensive backs. We saw this last season. What did he do? He went out and signed Kyle Fuller and Ronald Darby. What did he do in the draft? He used his first pick on a corner, okay? He clearly values this position a ton. The only reason I think this maybe could happen is the Colts are not big spenders. That's just not part of Jim Irsay's MO. They never really open up the checkbook and break it out for player after player after player. And I wonder if they'll view Kenny Young, as a player. No, Kenny Moore, I was thinking Kenny Young in the Broncos. Kenny Moore as a player like, we're not interested. However, All Out Broncos, I think it might cost more than a fifth, probably like a fourth to get a Pro Bowl corner, if not a third, which, by the way, you have the Colts' third-round pick, so you're not probably going to be able to get that for them. Or maybe you can send that right back to them. This next trade comes in from Tyrone, another longtime commenter on the show. He suggests that the Broncos get Laviska Shenault and the Jags receive a 2023 third-round pick. Short answer, that's just too rich for a player who hasn't really proven he's worth a day 2 pick. So appreciate the idea, Tyrone, but I would not give up a third for Laviska. Maybe a fifth, right? But you're pretty stacked at wide receiver. Now, in your comment, you mentioned after Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton, if you have an injury, it could get rather thin. You got Tim Patrick and you got KJ Hamler. That's a good group of 4 right there. Let's keep it that way. Last trade idea comes in from Jonta Baxter. I hope I pronounced that right. Ambitious. That's my one-word takeaway from this one. Amari Rodgers, wide receiver, and a first-round pick. That's what Denver receives for Tim Patrick. Whatever you're taking, whatever you're, a little smoke, a little drinky poo, to get a first-rounder for Tim Patrick, pass it my way. Because if Tim Patrick can go for a first, I'm sorry, Mr. Glue Guy, I'm shipping you out the building. There is just no way Tim Patrick yields a first or a late-round first, the 32nd overall pick in the draft. If you want to reset and go young with Amari Rodgers, okay, Tim Patrick's not old, right? He's not a grandpa. No. Oh, well, sorry. Yes, but this trade I don't think would ever happen. But I appreciate the idea and you joining the show. What was your favorite trade that you saw, though? Was it maybe a Deion Jones trade or the Kenny Moore trade? Let me know down below in the comments section. And hey, while you're down there, hit that big red button, subscribe, join one of the largest growing Broncos YouTube communities out there. Stay in touch with the latest on the Denver Broncos by subscribing today. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Appreciate you tuning in, and I'll see you later with more Broncos news and rumors.